After a brief hiatus, we have a mammoth episode this week. Man, we're going to talk everything from UFC to baseball, basketball, all-star game, the trade deadline. We're going to talk crow hats. We're going to talk some rum. We're going to talk movies. If there's ever an episode of the Unofficial Commentators that you don't want to miss, this is the one. Stay tuned. The Unofficial Commentators podcast begins now. Welcome, fans of the Unofficial Commentators. It's been a long stretch. I know you missed us, but guess what? We're back.
Too long.
We're back recording live. Me from the city of Brook, Paki from the city of Kings, and we're back, man, to rock your worlds and give you sports like you've never seen them before. Paki, man, what have you been so busy doing that we couldn't do a podcast last week?
Well, I'm wearing a jersey right now, as you can all tell. I mean, laugh at if you want. But besides the other podcast that I'm recording, I'm also part of a soccer team. We're in the middle of a tournament. So I've been practicing a lot. I'm wearing the jersey in honor of my soccer team. Right here, that's the little soccer team badge. Obviously, Crows football, man. We're getting ready for the season. So obviously, there's been a lot of game planning, a lot of film studying, a lot of reading, a lot of playbook modifying, a lot of work, man. Yeah. Crow's new hats right here, baby. So I got my football team right here that I coach, soccer team that I play for, man. So on top of that, it's just been a lot of work also because, as you guys know, I do have a 9-to-6 job as well. But it is what it is, man. We do sacrifices that need to be done so we can move forward.
Oh, what the hell? This thing done gone crazy. What the heck? Hold on. Here we go. Sorry about that. All right, we're back. Woof. If you're watching this live, you would have wondered what the heck just happened. And it's me flicking around with the camera angles.
I love it, man. It makes it organic. I like it.
I'll fix that in editing. Anyway, so, Paki, where can we find the Unofficial Commentators?
Unofficial Commentators, we can find them on Podomatic.com/unofficial commentators. Commentators with one M. Why only one M? Don't bother. It's just Podomatic.com/unofficial commentators with one M. We'll probably fix that soon enough. And we'll be in other platforms soon enough as well. So you guys better be aware of that. We are obviously on YouTube, where you're probably seeing us right now. Unofficial Commentators. Subscribe to our channel, please. Click below to subscribe. And, of course, Twitter and Instagram. Twitter, UC_podcast. Instagram, Unofficial Commentators.
Yes, and follow us on Facebook. A lot of likes, a lot of action, a lot of reactions to the things that we've posted. I love it. I like it. Our fan base is only getting bigger. Dude, we have so much to catch up on, being that we didn't have a podcast last week, so let's jump right into it. So I just want to briefly go over the UFC event.
Wait.
Oh, what?
Hold on. Before we jump into it, we've discussed before that this podcast, we're unofficial commentating about everything. It's not just sports. So this whole entire week, there's no baseball, there's no football, there's no basketball.
Not really.
Just news, a bunch of news. So that means there's been a lot of free time from actually watching games and highlights and shit. So, like, have you done anything this week? I'm sorry. Because I went and saw John Wick, man. John Wick was awesome. It's like, you know what? I don't have anything to do, no sports to watch. I'm going to go to the movies. John Wick, the manliest movie I've seen since Die Hard. That's my, review, because I don't want to give any spoilers. It's an awesome movie. If you haven't seen it, go watch it, man. It's a movie for men. There's no drama. There's no chicks. There's no, I love you, but I got to go take care of business. None of that, none of that whiny stuff. Straight manly shit. You know what I mean?
Is the rumor true that you shaved your beard entirely before watching it and came out looking exactly like that?
Yes, that is true. They make you shave, and even if you don't grow a beard, when you get out, you have a beard again.
Yep. All right. Well, I also saw the manliest movie that I could think of. Shout out to the Gucci's that went with me to watch Lego Batman.
I'm going to watch Lego. I want to see Lego Batman probably next week. I'm going to try and get that next week.
I want to say that Lego Batman is probably the best Batman of all. Forget Michael Keaton. Forget
Christian Bale.
Wow.
Forget George Clooney and whatever other Batman came here and there and in between. Lego Batman is where it's at. It's a little sappy, but the jokes, man, are spot on, and they come aplenty. I love me some Lego Batman.
Oh man, I gotta go watch it. And Logan is gonna come out here in the DR next week as well. So I'm probably gonna be visiting the movies at least twice next week.
I'm hearing like good things from the people that pre-screen Logan. They say that it's a good, probably the best superhero movie. I don't know, man. The Wolverine movies have kind of fallen flat. Wolverine as a character, he's been okay in the X-Men movies, but the Wolverine movies themselves, I mean, Origins was, hit or miss, whatever, average. You'd give it like a 70% rating. The one called The Wolverine, where he goes to Japan, that was hot garbage. I'm just not a fan of movies.
Nope. I completely get the argument, and I have one thing to say to defend this Wolverine movie, and it's the fact that this is the first that is actually rated R. So, I mean, we're talking about probably the most savage fictional character in comic history. Good guy, for that matter. And all his movies are PG-13. Well, this one is rated R, so, we'll probably get to see a little bit more of a real gruesome Wolverine is what I'm hoping for. And, of course, the storyline is also awesome. They're going to use the X-23 storyline. That's a great storyline to finish off the Wolverine chapter. It'll carry off to a new Wolverine chapter with X-23 in the future. Because, Hugh Jackman's not going to be doing this character anymore. That's what they said. As for now, that's the info we got. You never know in the future. Money can change anything, in my opinion. But it's a great chapter to talk about, and I'm very excited for it, man. And like I said, it's rated R. The only one says Deadpool, so I'm good with that.
I don't think I've ever seen this side of you, Paki. I didn't know you were a comic book nerd. I mean, props to that, man. I mean, I'm not hating on comic book nerds by all means. I used to be one. I still follow passively, but X-23, you're using big words, man.
Yeah, the problem is I'm not going to consider myself a comic book nerd because I read and follow comics, but only the mainstream ones. I'm not going to be talking to you about One Punch Man and all these guys that I hear people talk about that are not like that popular. But the mainstream ones, yeah, I follow them. Spider-Man and Wolverine and X-Men are like probably my favorites. But, that's why I don't consider myself a nerd. I don't brag a lot about it. I don't want to get into deep waters with the real, with the real experts on the topic. But I know a little bit about Wolverine.
I mean, everyone has their favorites. You don't have to know every single comic book to be a comic book nerd. But props for that, man. You kicked some real Logan knowledge there. What I was going to say about that movie, the one called The Wolverine, I'm not a fan of movies that have, like, American or, in this case, Canadian or Australian, wherever the heck he is, like, actors who got famous in America going off and doing, like, off-site movies with a bunch of, like, local actors. So he goes to Japan, he does this movie with a bunch of Japanese actors, and I sincerely mean no disrespect by this, but I'm listening to a lot of these actors speak. Most of them, some of them, I feel like they need subtitles. I don't understand what the hell is going on most of the time. And they just don't have as many expressions as I feel like some of the American trained actors have. I say the same thing about the first Bourne Identity, and that just killed, like, my entire desire to watch any of those Bourne movies. Him over there with a bunch of actors, of like Yugoslavian or Russian descendancy. Again, not trying to hate on any race, color, ethnicity, or anything like that, but it's just I don't see it. These actors, they're all like stone faced, rough. They don't really say much. It causes me a little bit of strain to understand a lot of the things they're saying. And dude, I've been interpreting for years. Like I know how to understand a lot of what people say, but I'm looking at this and going like, what the hell did he say? Watching it on DVD and playing it back. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm sour to the whole idea of watching movies where American trained actors go off and shoot on set with all of these, foreign actors. Tom Cruise did a movie where he was a samurai. Maybe that movie could have been great. There was like strong things behind it, but I just thought it was crap. But enough of that.
All right, so what are you drinking, Jay? What are you drinking?
Oh, dude, if you didn't see it, my mommy came from Santo Domingo today, and she brought me some of this stuff. She didn't bring it herself. I mean, she brought it, but it was my sister
Guess what
who
I'm
sent
drinking?
it. Oh, look at this guy. He's drinking the pack. Oh, dude. Don't worry. I'll get you next week.
I'm drinking protein.
I'll get you next week. I like the cup, though.
Yep.
Personalized is the way to go.
Yeah, man, it is what it is. But yeah, man, you drink alcohol, I drink protein, man. I'm trying to get ready for the season.
It gets my juices flowing, man. I get creative when I drink this stuff. Shout out to my sister.
Yeah, man, that's cool.
Sending the Brugal, making sure that I'm able to do this podcast in the most creative way possible. Probably the reason why I was flicking through camera angles earlier.
All right, now we can move on to UFC, man. Give me the good stuff.
Now we move on to some UFC. All right, so we're ready to talk sports. All right, so I just want to go back very briefly to last week. It was UFC 208, I believe. 208 in Brooklyn. That's the card that you said I definitely should have gone to, being that it was the first one in Brooklyn. Thank God in the high heavens that I didn't go see this garbage. What an awful card. Even Dana White came out in his post-fight press conference saying that it was an awful card. And if you saw the fight, I know you did, and for fight fans that follow along with the unofficial commentators and also saw the UFC 208, you may have noticed that Germaine de Randamie hit Holly Holm twice after the bell rang in two separate rounds. And
it couldn't have been a worse event.
Yeah, and probably had they taken points away for her, applying these late hits, this may have resulted in a tie instead of
which would have been worse.
Yeah. So honestly, and this is me reporting unofficially because that's what we do, I think that when this went down, they basically told Holly Holm, listen, just be quiet and take the decision. She looked a little bit shook up, a little bit heartbroken. I don't think she did enough to win the fight hands down, even, taking those two strikes. But to me, it just kind of seemed like, take this decision. We have to do something to salvage this. We have to get some sort of clean win because everything else has been a decision, except for the Kimura, if you want to talk about that. And a few days later, after it's all said and done and the press conferences are done, then I get a notice that Holly Holm is planning to appeal the decision, that she thinks it was wrong that de Randamie was able to hit her after the bell and that there were no points struck. And I don't know what that will result in. I mean, if that ends up in a tie, I guess it's good for her because it wouldn't look as dropping 3 fights in a row. And aside from that, she'd be tied, and possibly she gets a rematch and gets a chance to face de Randamie again. If it stays as is, Chris Cyborg Santos has been cleared. It looks like she's going to be able to come back with no penalties from any USADA proceedings, and she's going to be able to challenge for the title. So I'm interested in seeing where this goes. This is a very curious subject to me. The fact that she just kind of took the loss there, didn't say anything. Probably, being a good soldier, she was told, hey, don't make a big fuss, we'll take care of you later. And that's what she did. She kept her head up and said, whatever, let's roll with the punches.
I don't want to be called a conspiracy theorist or anything like that, but in all honesty, I think Holly Holm won that fight, regardless of the 2 shots in the later round, after the bell.
I'm going to tell you something.
Holly Holm was the aggressor.
The punches didn't win the fight for her. For de Randamie. That wasn't what tipped the scales. Obviously, if anything, that would have worked against her. But like I said, leading up to the fight, you told me she was going to dominate de Randamie. You just thought that if she fought the way that she fought with Ronda, and I told you, man, it depends on what Holly shows up. I saw a Holly Holm that tried way too hard to get a takedown. She wasn't successful, and she just didn't change the game plan. Like, I don't know what they were telling her in the corner. There was no adjustment. There really wasn't much footwork. There was just enough to get her against the cage. I would see her clasp her hands under de Randamie's, between her legs and just force and push and try to get a takedown that never came. And I don't even know. Yeah.
She was the aggressor the entire fight, and it's not like the randomly dominated in any way. She didn't get any real takedowns. She didn't do much of anything. I mean, Holly Holm led in strikes. She was clearly looking for the fight. Durandamy was kind of avoiding the fight. To me, that's how it looked. And here's the thing, man. This is how I see it, because I'm going to see the big picture. If Holly Holm wins, she gets the belt. And I'm going to mention out a couple of names to you. Anderson Silva, BJ Penn, Conor McGregor. I think I'm missing somebody, but I'm not sure. Do you know what these guys have in common?
Championships on 2 weight divisions?
On 2 weight divisions. And then you add Holly Holm into that mix? Holly Holm doesn't fit in that mix.
Why wouldn't you add Holly Holm, though? She's the first woman to take down Ronda.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. That's not a big accomplishment.
I mean,
nobody gives a damn about Chris Weidman, so
they really tried to build her up. No. I mean, Chris Weidman is respected. We don't like him as fans because he doesn't really say anything that would draw you to a fight, but he's respected in the MMA world.
All right, so that's the first thing. The second thing is, if you think about it, if Holly Holm wins, she is obviously going to defend versus who? Cyborg. And we all know Cyborg will dominate that division. I mean, the only thing that we learned from that fight is that Cyborg could have taken them both on at the same time and knocked them both out.
Probably.
So if you lose to Cyborg in 145, is either disappear into MMA mediocrity or simply change division again. So they give the title to Durandamy. She's going to get her ass kicked by Cyborg. Durandamy disappears into MMA mediocrity or changes weight division, and nobody hears from her again. And you build up Holly Holm again so you can build up another super fight, Holly Holm and Cyborg. So it's like you can extend this story a little bit longer, kind of like WWE-ish. It's just so convenient for UFC that Durandamy won. It's crazy. I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, man, but the fight was total garbage. I didn't buy the decision. I didn't like it, man. As a matter of fact, we should talk about Fight Night more than last Fight Night more than this event. Let's move on.
I don't know about conspiracy theory. I think you just sound a bit dumb. It's a super fight with Holly Holm after she's dropped 3 in a row. Do you really want the first ever champion in that division to be an unknown like Durandamy? I don't know who the hell that is.
Nah, they'll hype her up. They'll hype her up again. You know. They'll hype her up.
Yeah, I have total trust in the UFC hype train, man. They can hype a turd, but even then, man, I when it goes down in history, Holly Holm, if this is the person you're gonna hype up for a clash with Cyborg, this would have been the first ever champion, and now it's Jermaine Durandamy.
That's all you got.
Who I don't even know.
That's all you got. That's all you got, because that's exactly the point. There's nobody else in 145.
Yeah,
so
there really is no division. After that, it's just a couple of ladies that don't really want to cut weight.
They'll probably do a TUF, bring some girls in, whatever, but no real names. Holly Holm is the best chance you got.
Well, all right with that. Well, what do you think about Fight Night then? It was Fight Night Lewis versus Brown or Fight Night 105. I'm surprised they didn't make a bigger deal about Fight Night 100 coming around. Like that's pretty big. I know it's not pay-per-view, but
I loved it.
A cable fight night.
I loved it.
UFC, Fight Night 100 should have been a bigger deal. Anyway, this is UFC Fight Night 105. It was headlined by Derek Lewis, the Black Beast. He was fighting Travis Brown. A lot of wish-washy kind of decision fights leading up to the last fight, and I guess the 2 things that we really want to focus on are going to be Johnny Hendricks versus Hector Lombard and Derek Lewis versus Travis Brown. Anything you want to mention leading up to that? Any honorable mention maybe?
Nah, not really. These 2 fights pretty much made the event, and it was totally worth it. I know a lot of times those fans were like, we hate the decisions, but the fight with Lombard versus Johnny Hendricks was an awesome fight, regardless if it went to decision or not. And as you know, I am a big Rick supporter since day one. As much hate as I've poured on him for becoming a very weak fighter in 170 after losing to Robbie Lawler the title. Clearly, the problem was with his weight cutting. I mean, one of the things that made me a Johnny Hendricks fan from day one was seeing this guy fight I remember the Campman fight. Seeing this guy fight, knock guys out with a smile on his face. Like, how many people do you see fight with a smile on their face and then knock the shit out of the other guy? So I'm like, yo, this guy is crazy. I like this guy, man. I like him. But he lost that. And I think it was because his weight cutting, it was getting to him. He wasn't looking energetic. He wasn't looking powerful at all. So he goes up to 185, and I saw the old Johnny Hendricks again at 185. His reach is going to be a problem in that division in the future when he gets a more experienced fighter than Lombard, for sure. But he looked fresh, man. He looked powerful. He looked energetic. He looked fast. And, of course, he looked happy as well. The decision was well-deserved. I love seeing Johnny Hendricks. He might not win the 185 title. I think that's a long shot, but at least we'll get to see some good fights from Johnny Hendricks, which we were not seeing at 170. Regarding Travis Brown, man, am I glad he got his butt kicked. That was beautiful to watch. I don't like that guy. And I don't really condone the late stoppages that Mario Yamasaki always does. But like Travis Brown said, he thanked him since he's a wife beater. Man, thank you for letting me put in a couple of punches. But man, that late stoppage was ridiculous. The guy was knocked out like 7 punches before they stopped it. But whatever, man. I'm just glad he got knocked out because he was winning that fight.
Like Derek Lewis said. All right, well, you jump straight to the main event. For real fans, I'm not saying you're not. Let me just point out that Sarah McMahon looked really good. I know that she fought a much less experienced fighter, but she totally dominated. It officially went down as 1 minute and 14 seconds. And
she got a nice chokehold in there.
A triangle choke from the mount, which I heard jiu-jitsu experts say that it's a lot tougher to do it from the mount than it is from the side position. Sam Cecilia, when I was watching the fight, some of the people I was watching with, I was with Victor, the semi-finalist of the League of Haters, and Matt, his roommate. We were watching Matt picked Sam Cecilia. He was like, the bald guy with the beard, this guy's definitely going to win. Gavin Tucker brought the fight, though. At the end,
it was a good fight.
Sam Cecilia, he really ramped it up for that last round. He was going for broke, but by that point, it was too little, too late. That went down as a unanimous decision, 30-27. Gavin Tucker really brought it to him every round, and he even withstood a lot of punishment in the last round and still came up ahead. In terms of Johnny Hendricks versus Hector Lombard, you said something there that I don't understand where that comment came from. Someone with more experience than Hector Lombard would be able to take advantage of that. I think I counted it before. Hector Lombard has had like 45 fights. He's won just about every way possible.
I should have said skilled. No, thank you for the correction. I should have said skilled. Experience is not the word. Skilled is.
I think honestly that Hector Lombard. Okay, so let me set this up before I say it. I've never been a real big fan of Johnny Hendricks. I think he won against George St. Pierre. I would have loved for him to actually beat George St. Pierre and not give him the chance to just walk out on top. That's another thing we should probably mention, that George St. Pierre signed again, but we'll get to that soon enough. Never been a fan of Johnny Hendricks. I was really hoping that he would flop at 185 so that he can kind of ride off into the sunset, and that'd be the end of Johnny Hendricks. We wouldn't have to see him again. That sounds like a lot of hate, but I'm just not a fan. He moved up to 185-pound division because he couldn't cut weight anymore. He still didn't make 185 pounds. He weighed in at 185 and a half pounds. I mean, my man, you couldn't even cut that half pound? What's going on there? Like, are we going to have this problem at 185? Hector Lombard.
And that tells you how hard it was for him to cut to 170, man.
Yeah, well, whatever. You'll get no respect from me. You should have at least made 185 without an issue. Hector Lombard, I believe he may be getting a little old in the tooth. If I'm not mistaken, he's Cuban. They got him at 39, but with a lot of Cuban athletes, you never really know. He might actually be like 47. He had his run on top. He's actually on the decline. So I don't know how much of this was actually Johnny Hendricks looking so much better, or how much was Hector Lombard. I think Hector Lombard had him for a lot of the first round, and Johnny Hendricks kind of,
the first.
Yeah. Then he kind of gassed out, and Johnny Hendricks kind of took over from there. I don't understand what the hell is going on with Hector Lombard. It's like he just can't see the knee coming. He must have jumped into that knee about 6-7 times. And it's not just Johnny Hendricks like hitting him with the knee. It's Lombard diving in head first and taking the knee. Now, props, man. I don't know if it's chin or just a really hard head. That knee should have taken him out. And I think about the way that he got knocked out in his previous fight against Dan Henderson, where I thought he was dead. Like, they didn't put the camera on him after that knockout. They didn't do anything. I didn't see him after the fight. I thought the dude was straight up dead. I was Googling him to find out whether he was honestly like R.I.P. dead. But he came back. He looked good for one round, and then he just gassed out. And I think that's going to be the remainder of his career. It's just going to continue to decline from there. He should really start to make plans post MMA fighting. Do you have anything to say on that before I get into the Derek Lewis?
No, it's just Johnny Hendricks. I know what you're saying about Hector Lombard, but I say Hendricks looked good because his footwork looked good. He looked nimble. His combos were good. His head movement was good. He was dancing in the ring. You know, I liked what I saw.
This is going to take a little bit more to sell me, and I think at this point in his career, I'm just not going to come around to Johnny Hendricks. If he didn't hook me when he was big rig, I don't think I'm going to come on board now when he's whatever it is that he is now.
Rig?
Old rig. Broken down rig. Llamen a la grúa rig. What's his name? Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis against Travis Brown. Man, for a moment I almost called him Derek Brown. So Derek Lewis fought and beat Travis Brown. He beat him in the second round by KO, just knockout. After repeated punches, you said it, man. Mari Yamasaki didn't do him any favors. He just kind of let him get continually bashed.
It's not the first time he does that.
Yeah, this is kind of his trademark. Like, I'd be terribly afraid. They should send Big Country after to go kick him. Something that needs to be done about Mari Yamasaki. Anyway, what I saw in this fight, man, I wasn't too impressed with. You know, it's a thing with the bigger heavyweights. They also tend to get gassed. I do think that Travis Brown was picking his spots well, and then, I don't know, he just kind of threw the game plan out the window and started getting mushed in the face. Travis Brown, at one point, it almost looked like he fell by himself. In the replay, I saw that he got tagged across the top of the head, and it even took him like a second or maybe half a second to react, but he fell off his own feet, and when he fell, he was already knocked out. Every punch on the floor was gratuitous. He took 10 punches to the face, full force from an animal like Derek Lewis, and that's when they finally called it. Props to Derek Lewis, you know, for the win. I liked everything about the post-fight press conference, the in-fight, the pre-fight. He's a funny guy. He's a guy with a personality. Not 100% sold. He's a little bit too urban for me. Some of the things he says I don't agree with. I don't think it was proper. You know, go after the guy, but stop bringing up his whole, you know, domestic violence, marital issues. I don't think the cage or that platform is where you want to go. And you know, after having beat a guy with your fist, to talk about domestic violence maybe isn't the platform to discuss that, but it is what it is. I laughed at the I got to take a number 2. I'm not upset, but I don't like the direction in which the MMA goes now, because does this propulse Derek Lewis into some kind of like contention for possibly a title? Who are the people ahead of him?
I mean, I wouldn't mind, because the division is dead right now. I mean, you got Miocic, Dos Santos, Cain Velasquez, and we're doomed. The same people over and over again. I mean, I'm rooting for the guy from Congo. What's his name? Dookie, and I don't remember. The African guy that we talked about. I don't remember.
Francis Ngannou.
Ngannou, there you go. I'm rooting for that guy. Hopefully he comes up. He looks legit. But besides that, man, if Lewis is going to get a pump after this, well, go ahead, man. That division is boring anyways. We might as well see something new.
I guess I understand what you're saying, new blood, but You know,
Yeah.
is this really the kind of blood that we want? Like, is this what?
It'll be. I mean, it'll be fun watching Derek Lewis get knocked out by one of those guys that I mentioned. I mean, or submitted in Verdun's case.
Yeah.
Why not?
I don't know.
Knockouts are fun.
Call me an MMA purist, but I felt disrespected when he said that he chose MMA over boxing because if he ever got tired, you know, boxing wouldn't let him just kind of hug it out while he caught his breath, but MMA, he could just take somebody down and get his win back. I don't know. This is just like weird logic to me. Like, really, man? Like, this is what you're saying?
That's the logic of somebody that's never fought Dos Santos or a Brock Lesnar or a Stipe Miocic. When he faces those guys, he's gonna see the reality of MMA. It's not gonna be fun.
Yeah, I hope that happens sooner than later. All right, so before we get off the topic of MMA, UFC altogether, MMA, just want to make a quick note. Fedor was supposed to fight Matt Mitrione in Bellator. That did not happen. I'm not a fan of MMA in general. I'm more of a fan of the UFC, but I would have liked to see Matt Mitrione, who was one of my more cherished fighters in the UFC, go up against Fedor, who's obviously a legend. And that didn't happen. Apparently, it was Mitrione that was sick, and he had to pull out of the fight. Well,
yeah, 4 hours before the fight, they diagnosed him with kidney stones. That's ridiculous. That's a damn shame. How do you cancel a main event just 4 hours before the event? Tickets are sold. You can't give the people their money back. It's ridiculous. That's a shame.
I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but maybe they knew and they didn't release it because people wouldn't have gone to watch it.
That's what I believe too.
At that point, you're pretty much sold. You're there. You have to watch whatever they give you. GSP signed with the UFC. It's a multiple fight contract. However, contracts in UFC work. What do you think of this? I am honestly not all that excited.
Another sideshow. When they said GSP is going to be fighting anywhere between 155 and 185, what does that tell you, Jay? What's the first thing that comes to mind?
Well, I know the reason they said it, but I'm not sure what you're getting at, so just go ahead and tell me.
Conor McGregor. They want to build up a fight eventually with Conor McGregor. It's kind of getting old already. You know, I'm a big McGregor fan, but it's getting old. They keep doing these sideshows. After the whole Mayweather-McGregor thing, I would not doubt for a second that they make up a GSP-McGregor fight, even if it is at 170. I wouldn't be surprised for a second. And you'll see the winner of Nurmagomedov or shit, I forgot.
Tony Ferguson?
Or Ferguson. You'll see them with their interim title all pissed because they don't get a shot at Conor McGregor. I would not doubt that for a second, nor from McGregor, nor Dana White, because that's the money fight.
Yeah, so basically, see, for people that ask me why I don't like Conor McGregor, being that he's a loudmouth and I like the jokes and I like the funny, I don't like how he walked into the UFC. And granted, he's won his fights when he's been presented them, but it's like UFC just kind of served it up to him in a silver platter. Like, you know, just have your pick. We need this.
No, man, he came up on fight nights.
Hold on. We need this Irish market. We're going to make you the main event of fight nights from the very beginning. We're going to give you whoever you want to fight. We got the subs, the this, the that, people filling in last minute. He's beating people. I'm not overly impressed by the people he was beating to begin with. But my main problem with him is how UFC just kind of bent over and took it from Conor McGregor from the very beginning. They just made him, you know, you ask the question, who's your daddy? It's like, no, you're my daddy. Come here and give this to me. That's what I saw them do from the very, very beginning.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. They did, they made a path for him a lot easier than other fighters. But the truth is, Conor McGregor is one of a kind at promoting fights and selling tickets.
Now, with that being said, what I'm seeing now with GSP is pretty much the same thing. They rolled out the red carpet. Yeah. Oh, GSP is back. You have your pick of the litter. Whatever you want first. What's the title you want to fight for? Do you want to fight at 155 or do you want 185? They say from one race to another. They don't mention 170 because I think if he goes back to 170, those guys there are killers and they would destroy GSP.
To me, that's the toughest division right now.
He's tactical. He's this, he's that, but Woodley, Wonder Boy, and just name it. Whoever's at 170 is a beast right now.
Lawler.
Beast. And any one of them can take him. You know, that jab and point fighting isn't going to win you any titles if you're the actual challenger. So they're basically saying, take whatever championship you want to fight for first. You want 155? We'll give you Conor. You want 185? We'll give you Bisping. So if I didn't like him before, I'm going to like him a whole lot less now when they're just going to force feed him whatever title he wants.
I think that covers anything that we had to talk about GSP. I think it's going to be a new sideshow. And he ran out of money, so yeah.
He ran out of money, and he realized...
That's not, by the way, that's not an official report. That's me unofficially commentating on why he would be back to MMA. I mean, yeah, it's not like I read it anywhere or anything like that.
No,
I can't say he's broke.
From what we know, he's not broke. He left, and he still had a deal with Under Armour for whatever that's worth, but... You realize really quickly that when you don't have the platform of UFC to promote yourself, your image, your face, your brand, you start getting less and less calls for acting jobs and less commercials for Under Armour and Gatorade or Powerade or whatever the heck it was. So this is how you put yourself back in the spotlight. And whether he wins or loses, I think, you come out there and you make yourself known again. Let everybody know that GSP is back to fighting, and just start promoting all those brands again. I know Under Armour is a little hot under the collar, man. I mean, they've had a few busts recently, so they got to do something to get that name out there again.
That's their fault. It's not the athlete's fault.
They had their busts, man. It is what it is. Okay, so you want to talk some baseball?
All right, man. Let's go. Let's bring it.
So the big deal in baseball is that there were some discussions about possible rule changes. One of the rules changes was actually accepted. Paki, you told me that you knew off the top of your head what these rule changes were, so I just want to try something. I haven't really read much on this. I just want you to tell me what these proposed rule changes are, and I'll just give you my reaction. How about that?
First of all, let's go over the one that was accepted. The intentional walks are not needed anymore to be 4 pitches. Shout out to the MLB purists, Dago and Vasquez. I mean, why are you guys, and everybody else out there, why are you guys so upset about this rule change? This, to me, makes no sense why anybody would be upset about. It's so insignificant, it's not worth me being excited or mad about it. To me, it's ridiculous. I mean, last year, intentional batters won every 4 games. Intentional walks. I mean, really, bro, it's not that big a difference. So just let it go. It's a start, it's a stepping stone in the right direction to change the pace of the game. For those people out there, because I know they talked about it in the chat, saying they're only changing the game for new people to watch. Old people are going to still watch. They're just trying to make people. No, man, forget that. Scratch that. Baseball has evolved. Baseball is changing as any sport changes, and when the sport evolves, so do the rules. Right? Football evolved, the rules evolved. Basketball evolved, the rules evolved, and now baseball has to do the same thing. Back in the 90s and the 80s and so on, pitchers would go on for 9 innings. There would be not that many pitching changes. The games will end up pretty quick. Now you have a pitcher up to the 5th. You bring a new guy for the 6th, maybe the 7th. You have a setup man in the 8th and a closer in the 9th. It's a huge waste of time. So that being said, changes have to be made, guys. 4 and 5 hour games are unacceptable. I don't care how much you like baseball pure as it's supposed to be. Baseball is not the same as it was. So that being said, within the changes that they were proposing, Jay, the first one, I believe, was reducing the strike zone. They want to improve the offense. As you know, one of the things that made baseball great again in the 90s was the offense. Great
home
offense.
Runs. Yeah, that's when I used to watch.
Yes. Now, offenses are not as strong as they were before. It's now more of a pitching league. So they want to make it a little bit more batter-friendly. If you reduce the strike zone, you have better pitches to hit. It makes it a little bit harder on the pitcher, and you're also probably going to have more players on base. I completely disagree with this rule change. Thank God it was not done. This is not fair. It's not even fair for the current pitchers that grew up with a normal strike zone. Now they got to change the whole entire pitching system. And it's not fair for pitchers because it's going to affect their stats and it's going to affect their records. And, it's not fair. You got Nolan Ryan striking out 1 million guys with a bigger strike zone than whoever comes in the next 5 years with a smaller strike zone. So I don't like that rule. That's the first one. I don't know if you want to talk about anything on that rule, because I know you weren't happy with that one.
I wasn't upset. I just didn't understand it. So reducing the strike zone makes for better offense? How does that work?
Because it makes it tougher on the pitcher. Less strikeouts, more walks, more hits. It's that simple.
More walks?
Of course, it's going to be more walks because you have a smaller strike zone. It's going to be more walks.
How's that exciting?
Well, because you have more batters on base, so you're going to have more runs batted in.
So I have a lot longer at bats, a lot more batters just looking at pitches because they may or may not be inside this smaller strike zone, and a lot more batters walking at first base?
It depends. I mean, you're probably going to have more swings. So,
would you have more swings? Like, I foresee a lot of. Was that a strike or not? Should I have thrown that? What do you think? Is that a strike or not? That's a strike. So that's what I'm supposed to be throwing at now. Okay. Oh, that's not a strike. Okay, so I don't swing at that.
Well,
okay.
It forces the pitchers to put the ball in a more comfortable spot for the batter.
In the hitting zone.
Batters are going to have better pitches to hit. That's the point. I mean, right now you can get a fastball in the knees and it might be called a strike, and you easily won't swing at it thinking it's slow, but it's a strike, and then you get, but now if it's at the knees, you know it's not a strike, so you're not going to swing at it. Now the pitcher is not going to be thrown at the knees. They have to throw in the midsection. It's a comfortable pitch to hit. You're going to get better hits. You're going to get better at bats. It's obvious, bro.
I don't know about better at bats. I just think it's going to be longer at bats. You're still going to try to be deceptive and fool batters, so you're still going to throw around the knees. Now, if batters choose to lay off, that's a ball. That's a ball. Before you know it, you're 3-0, and now you got to throw it in the middle. And now you either try to beat them with pure velocity, or you get slammed. So I don't know if it's a better at bat. It just seems like it's a longer at bat.
Hopefully it doesn't get changed. The other rule they wanted to put in, which they were going to be implementing in the World Baseball Classic, I believe they're also going to be doing in the spring leagues, is extra innings starting with a runner on second base. I freaking hate that rule as well. That's retarded. But it is what it is. Thank God the Player Association stepped in front of that one also. Another rule they had in there
that seems like such a candy-ass rule. Like, that is dumb as hell.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that?
So I'm going to start with a runner in second. Again, that's not
all right,
fair. That's not even fair on the pitcher.
Everybody go, take the field, and hey, you, such and such, go stand on second base. So is that considered like an earned run if the pitcher gives it up, even though they started on second base?
That's a great question. That's a great question, and I don't know. I assume not. I mean, it can't, because
second base is considered scoring position, right? Can you potentially hit a sacrifice fly and run it in from second?
No, that's not possible. The field isn't big enough, but you can easily hit a simple single, just like a ground single, like between first and second, and he's gonna score.
And that's the game.
Probably score, and that's the game. Game could be over in 3 pitches.
I don't like that, man. I don't know if you still have closers in the extra innings or just relievers, but that's a quick way to get a lot of losses on your record if you're a reliever. That sucks.
Their logic behind it is that it's not fun having a game going to 18 innings and having the center fielder come out to pitch because they're out of pitchers.
I think that's
Which makes sense.
What are you talking about? That sounds fun as hell.
Yeah.
Shit, I'll take me some Mike Trout pitching. What the hell?
The only problem is that's like 6 hours later, but yeah, they're trying to avoid that. But I don't like that rule change. They got to find another way. That's not...
I don't know about baseball on TV. By that time, I probably just knock out and catch the result tomorrow. But if I paid for a ticket and I'm getting 18 innings, man, I got 2 games in 1.
As a matter of fact, I know baseball purists are going to kill me for what I'm going to say, but to me, it'd be more acceptable to have an innings limit, let's say 14, and at that point, just call it a tie.
Oh.
There's ties in football. There's ties in soccer. I know people are going to kill me for that. We hate ties. In America, we don't do ties.
There are 100 and something games. Yeah, there's 100 and something games in hockey, too. So they have ties as well.
Right, it's 162 games.
Yeah, I don't see what's so bad with that, man. Like, save some of these baseball players that you love and stop getting those ridiculous, like, at-bats, like 3 for 10. That just looks bad. I'm not a baseball fan like some other people are, but I definitely like my fantasy. And to get, like, 10 chances at bat, and by that time you're exhausted, and to get a chance at, possibly 3 or 4 strikeouts in fantasy, that sucks. As a batter. Hitter.
Yeah, it's I don't like it, but regardless, that's not going to be changed either. The other rule they have, which I think they should consider changing immediately, is the pitching mound visits. They want to reduce pitching mound visits. This is needed.
You're really passionate about that. Tell me why.
Yeah, we saw it in the Game 7 of the World Series. We saw it in the Game 9 of the World Series here in the Dominican Baseball League, which is a very respected winter league. I mean, especially in playoffs more than anything is when you really see it. Yeah, it's a 9-game series. Especially in the playoffs more than anything, that there's so many pitching changes. I mean, you can easily go into the 6th inning, have your starter come out. Let me point to you this scenario. I don't remember if this was the exact scenario, but this happens and could happen way too often. The pitcher in the 6th inning gives up a walk or a hit, right? And then he gives up another walk or hit. Now he puts 2 guys on base.
Right.
No outs. So the coach comes out, talks to him. Hey, man, when he comes in and he's struggling, he might get the out. Maybe he allows a walk. He loads the bases. Now the coach is going to come back out again. Now he's going to substitute him. All right, so we go to commercials. We already saw 2 pitching visits to the mound, 1 commercial. You bring in a reliever, a right-hand reliever because you're facing a right-hand batter. The guy gets into a deep count. Coach comes out. They talk again. He leaves. The guy gets the out. Now you got a left-handed batter. Get another pitcher. Now you got again. He comes out to the mound. Another commercial. Another pitcher. We're still in the same inning. You see where I'm going with this? And not to mention the huddle that these players do to talk also, which you got to mix in there into that sprinkle of eternal inning that I presented to you. And that's what happens.
But I love this part, though, when everybody talks with the gloves over there.
Yeah, exactly.
So what are we doing after this? Are we still going for the wings?
I sort of got half the time they're not even talking baseball. I mean, Jesus Christ. What? But whatever. I mean, I think there has to be. I mean, in other games, you know what they call that? In other sports,
Did you check out that trick at the third row? Yeah, man. Yeah. The one with the knockers? Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I mean, in other sports, they call it a timeout, Jay. So they should limit it to being like some type of timeout. And not to mention that when they have a pitcher warming up and they want a pitching change, in order to stall so the pitcher can warm up, they start throwing to first base repeatedly. You know what I mean? They're stalling the game. That's the sort of stuff they can control right there. Like intentional stalling of the game. Anything else I think is just ridiculous. I think another one of the rules that they were going to put in there.
Before you get there, I'm exhausted of hearing you say that, so I hope that gets revised at least.
Yeah, man, for real. It's a valid argument.
Don't take it from the top. Don't take it. I heard it. Just revise it.
No, I'm not taking it from the top. I'm not.
Take that into consideration, MLB. Go ahead. What's the next rule?
Yeah, it's a valid argument, but within the other rules that they wanted. That they wanted to put in there was, I totally lost it. I just had it.
The pitching. Where the pitch is going to be timed, or how does that work?
Oh, the timing the pitchers. Yeah, that's ridiculous to me too. I know. Thank you for reminding me. Putting a timer on the pitcher, that's not fair. I mean, pitchers are receiving enough stress already on their arms. Now you got to rush them. You know, you got to get loose to pitch. It's a mental game. It's not a.
Did you say Russian?
Yeah, Russian.
I don't know a lot of Russian. Just da, da, da.
Retarded. Anyways, it's and not to mention it's a mental game. The pitching and the batting. It's not a physical game. So rushing through, it's not like a shot clock violation. Rushing through it does not. It's not going to make the game faster. You have to let the pitchers get in the zone when they're going to go into each batter. Maybe they want to, reconsider what they studied on their scouting report. Now you're rushing them. I don't like it.
I mean, what did they give a proposed number? Are they talking like 20 seconds per pitch? Or?
I think there's a 45-second proposed per pitch. I believe it is.
And when would this clock start? Like, you play with your little sandbag. You got your signal. When you put your hand in the mitt, that's when it starts. I don't think that's that bad.
I have no idea, but I don't know. If you put it when you put your hand in the mitt, then it's ridiculous because it's pointless. I mean, they don't last 45 seconds once they're ready to throw. So
yeah,
I'm guessing it'd have to be once the catcher throws it back. The only logic would be once the catcher throws it back to the pitcher, you start it again. I don't know. And sometimes it's the batters. Sometimes the batters call a time, to stretch out and stuff.
Well, if that happens, then I guess you can't start the pitching clock.
It's getting complicated. When it gets complicated, you shouldn't do it.
No, that's not true. You should not do something because it's hard. I'm interested in seeing how that would look before I want to dismiss it altogether. Like, I don't mind the pitching clock. I want to know when it's going to start. Maybe this is something that they could try in the spring league and see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it, but I think they got it most right, except for the ones with the pitching mound visits.
All right, so is that it?
Yeah, man, that's pretty much it. I don't have anything else regarding that.
All right, and then the one that they approved, I didn't really get to say anything about. So now you get some kind of like dugout signal, and they just take a base, and we don't have to play catch for 4 pitches anymore.
Yeah, I mean at the end of the day, Jay. It's just baseball. Shout out to my boy Vasquez.
Oh, I can't believe you did that again. He did it on purpose this time. All right, well, here's a conclusion that I agree with. And when we were having this back and forth in the chat rooms, I mentioned it. And here's someone else from Fox Sports that also has the same opinion. It says, if you're a baseball fan who believes the game is fine as is, would you swear off watching the sport if there was a pitch clock or if managers could only shift 3 times a game? Of course not. So I'm not going to go as far as to say it's just baseball, but guys, stop being so resistant to every single change. Everything has to change a little bit eventually. I don't think that these changes were that over the top to begin with.
No.
I remember a time, they've changed so many rules in football, and we say, these rule changes suck. I don't like that they're kicking from so close. There's no running the ball back anymore. But we don't stop watching because of that. And then I remember a counterpart to that. I remember when the NBA switched from the leather balls to this synthetic ball. Remember that one with the groovier design, and all the shooters were complaining that they were having trouble. That lasted about half a season, and they took all those balls out and put them out to pasture, and they went back to the other balls. I don't think it would kill the sport to try some of these rule changes, and then if it doesn't work, just kind of take it back. And
the biggest change basketball ever experienced was when they added the 3-point line, and everybody was so against it. People was like, "That's ridiculous." People didn't even want to shoot threes. And what is a 3-point now? So you have to embrace changes sometimes.
It's a culture. It's what drives championship teams, and it got so ridiculous to a point that they were considering drawing up a 4-point line. Paki, is that a baseball?
It is a baseball.
Oh, this guy. The hate just never stops coming, guys. That's my conclusion there.
It's just a baseball. It's just a baseball.
So that's my conclusion. Don't be so resistant to every change. Give these new things a try, and let's see where they land. All right, so let's keep it moving. Let's jump right into basketball. Man, it seems like these last 2 weeks were predicated on basketball. It was all basketball all the time. So I want to break up our review of basketball into 2 main components, and feel free to drop in whatever you think fits there. I want to talk about the All-Star Weekend, and I want to talk about Well, that pretty much says it all. And I want to talk about the trade deadline. So, All-Star Weekend, just going over the top. Rising stars, celebrity games on Friday. Any opinion on that?
Hot, bubbling, garbage. Total garbage. The All-Star Weekend is such garbage that Derrick Jones Jr., that was a runner-up at the dunk contest, that nobody knew, by the way, got demoted to the D-League this week.
I think he only
after
got
the All-Star Weekend.
I honestly think they had said before the dunk contest that he only played for like 20 minutes. I think he only got promoted for the All-Star dunk contest in hopes that would bring, kind of a spotlight to the Phoenix Suns.
Ridiculous.
Play 20 minutes. They really have no use for him. He's kind of duplicitous, and then they just bumped him back to the D-League.
Yeah, it's a damn shame. The NBA All-Star Game was also complete garbage. The defense is worse than ever.
Whoa, guy, you're going ahead of yourself. So we talked about Friday. Did you notice that they removed the shooting stars? You remember that competition where you stand on those spots and you got a WNBA player and a legend and then an NBA player?
Yeah, I didn't even care about. You see, I didn't even notice it now that you just mentioned. That just tells you how relevant it was. But yeah, let's go by part then. I mean, the best part of All-Star Weekend was clearly the kid. What's his name? Jarius Robinson, I think it is. That stole the show during the celebrity game. And during the media time in the All-Star Game, he was the only fun thing to watch. Because the celebrity game was boring, obviously. Who watches that anyways? The World versus USA game was also non-exciting. The dunk contest, as we said, besides the fact that it was dull and boring and repetitive.
And they missed every single dunk, and pretty much the dunk that won was the same one that the guy before tried and missed. It was kind of crap.
Yeah, on top of all that, the talent was atrocious. And the three-point contest, well, it was a three-point contest. I mean, there's not much for you to say there. It's always the same thing.
The last couple of years, it's been kind of the highlight of All-Star Saturday. It's been the three-point contest. I was pleasantly surprised last year with how the dunk contest turned out. I honestly thought that they were going to make up for the highway robbery that they performed on Aaron Gordon this year. But Aaron Gordon couldn't make a fucking dunk. And that's the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, and the winner didn't make a dunk in the last round either. But that's how bad this dunk contest was. The All-Star Game is getting closer to the Pro Bowl than it is to the MLB All-Star Game.
Why are you so anxious to talk about the All-Star Game? Where's the love for Kristaps
the skills challenge? The skills challenge.
I thought you were a Knicks fan, man.
Second year in a row, a 7-footer wins the skills challenge. Is retarded. Makes no sense. What's wrong with the point guards nowadays in the NBA? They just shoot threes, apparently. So, yeah, I didn't like it either. Yeah, Kristaps, Knicks, whatever. Very fun. The Knicks are hot garbage, too. Dude, like, what do you want me to say? Do you really want me? If you are a Knicks fan, there's no reason for you to celebrate that Kristaps Porzingis won the skills challenge. Is that Phil Jackson's greatest accomplishment as the Knicks general manager, that Porzingis won the skills challenge? Yeah, man, the Knicks season is complete, utter disgrace. The skills challenge does not even fix it. I don't even want to talk about it. And yeah, I wanted to get to the All-Star Game because I really wanted to trash the All-Star Game.
Give me some trash on the All-Star Games. I'll give you 40 seconds to rant. Go nuts.
Dude, I understand you don't have to defend, but this is not even a pickup game anymore. This is not even a 5-on-5 pickup game at the park. This is ridiculous. Yeah, dude, Steph Curry took a nap when Giannis was going to go to the basket. It's funny. Yeah, haha, it's disrespectful. That's not what we're there to watch. It's disrespectful to the fans. It's disrespectful to the game. I don't want to sound boring, but I just don't. Like, dude, this is worse than the Pro Bowl. The defense is worse than the Pro Bowl. And that's a lot to say because the Pro Bowl is horrible. So, and the ratings improved. I don't get it. So, yeah, man, this is retarded. And this is a bad sign because, remember, LeBron James is the oldest All-Star was the oldest All-Star on this roster. So all these guys are the new cats. And clearly the new cats have no caring whatsoever to the integrity of the game or the All-Star game. So back in the 90s with Jordan, Bird, Magic, Shaq, Ewing, Robinson. All-Star game was not played like that at all.
Well, the NBA rivalry between players has, I believe, all but disappeared. It's gone. Now the rivalries are between players and coaches, players and owners, players and presidents. It looks like all of the players have other players' backs. They may come out and get heated in a certain situation, but we don't really see like fights on the court anymore. Like there's no fire or passion. There's no PJ, what was his name? PJ Brown flipping over Charlie Ward and throwing him into the third row, and benches clearing and that sort of thing. Everybody likes each other. They're all buddies. They're all business partners. They're all concerned with their brands.
I wish everybody played like Westbrook.
Man, I love me some Russell Westbrook, bro. Because Westbrook just don't give a fuck.
Yeah, he brings the intensity. I wish everybody played like that in the All-Star.
He don't give a fuck. So, the biggest things of note during that All-Star game was Kevin Durant doing the most disrespectful lob for a dunk that he could ever do, where he throws it over his shoulder and doesn't really ever look at Russell Westbrook. I love the press conference where they asked him, like, so after that, did you guys settle it? Did you squash it? Is like the beef done? And he asked him, like, well, did you see us do anything? Did you see us squash any beef? So no, that's pretty much what happened, right? So
it was just basketball. That's what he said. It's just basketball.
So it was a lob, and I caught it, and I finished. And that was it, because that's what you do with a lob.
You heard his exact words, right? It's just basketball.
And get off this horse. All right,
so I'm just saying.
So I was really excited about this year's All-Star game. I thought that maybe this would have been a chance for these guys to showcase themselves and promote their own individual brands, and you do that by being competitive in a competitive game. But everybody was just kind of hanging out and lollygagging, and I think the most defense was probably played by Marc Gasol, and they force-fed the hometown kid. Anthony Davis won the MVP. Like you said, Steph Curry thought it'd be cute if he just lies down rather than showing up on a poster. Oh my God, that was so terrible. I would have wished
exactly.
I would have so wished that somebody would have like inadvertently stomped on his kneecap and just destroyed his whole season for being a dick.
Wow. See, I didn't go that far. Shit.
I was kind of indifferent towards Steph Curry. Like, I don't dislike him. I'm not a hater, but that made me hate. That was just wrong. Like, don't do that. It seemed like it was a race to 200, and you didn't get to 200. You didn't play any defense. We saw about 184,000 dunks, and it kind of devalued the fun of the dunk. Like, what was that word that Russell Westbrook, by the way, he's the one that said it, like, hey, why don't you ever show up to the dunk contest? And he answers, oh, because I only dunk on people. Like, the All-Star game was just a bunch of open dunks. That's not fun. Like, dunk on somebody. Get a poster. Do something.
Dunks and the new 3 and D.
Crap.
Threes and dunks.
All right. I was honestly very down on it, man. I got so pissed off. I think the day after the All-Star game, I didn't even feel like talking to anybody. I was just so mad. I was really excited for it, and they just killed it for me. They just took a huge shit on my expectation of the All-Star game. All-Star weekend was just lackluster. I didn't watch this year. I had it on a second TV monitor, and UFC was playing, and I saw the prelims, before watching any of that crap in the All-Star game. It sucked.
All right, man. So let's talk about trades, man. It sucked. Let's talk about what's going on with the trades.
So big trade last week was Serge Ibaka being traded for Terrence Ross. At the time, I thought that was going to be the biggest name traded, so I gave it the importance that it merited at the time. But then the whole NBA got turned on its ass when DeMarcus Cousins gets traded to the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, we'll talk about the implication of that soon enough, but now that other teams saw that a big marquee player like Boogie Cousins was traded, now it's like open season on Stars. So now they got their eye on Paul George, and he's involved in a whole bunch of trade rumors. Jimmy Butler was kind of a faint name that may or may not have been traded. Now it's like a strong front runner that he is going to be traded. It looks like the Boston Celtics are front and center with trade talk because they own the draft rights to the first round pick of the Brooklyn Nets, who have the worst record in the NBA. So that may or may not result in the first pick overall. I have the possible first 5 picks pulled up here if you're interested in knowing who these guys are. Are you interested in knowing who these guys are?
Yeah, man, give it to me.
Pause. Let me see here.
That's what she said.
Okay. All right, so it looks like point guard Markelle Fultz of Washington may potentially be the first pick so far. I mean, we're still a ways away from the draft, so that could change. If everything stays as is, he would be going to the Celtics. Do they need another point guard? Maybe, maybe not. Isaiah Thomas is really a shooting guard and a point guard body, so it wouldn't help to have a distributor and playmaker there, Markelle Fultz. The next player, number 2, would go to the Lakers potentially with Lonzo Ball, a point guard from UCLA. I don't know what the heck they would do with another point guard. I thought that they were pretty much going to go all in on D'Angelo Russell, but sometimes you just got to pick the best player available and, hope for the best. Lonzo Ball's father, by the way, is saying that his son would be better than Steph Curry, that in the same system you can kind of, switch them up and the results would be the same. Some of the scouts have him described as a skinnier Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd, for all intents and purposes, it was an excellent point guard. The Suns would take Jonathan Isaac, forward out of Florida State. The Heat would get Jason Tatum, small forward out of Duke. Number 5, Mavericks would possibly get Josh Jackson, small forward out of Kansas. Do you want to hear all 10 or just leave it at 5?
No, leave it at 5.
All right.
After that, the picks are pretty whatever.
Well, this year's draft, the Ben Simmons draft, Ben Simmons was basically the only name that I know, him and Buddy Hield. And Buddy Hield just got traded, so it shows you how good or how useful he was to that franchise. Or maybe how valuable
he was traded.
Or maybe how
he was
valuable
traded for some.
Sacramento thinks he could potentially be.
Yeah, that's the key word, because the reason why Sacramento traded Boogie to New Orleans is because besides the fact that they got better offers, the owner says Buddy Hield could be the next Steph Curry. So Lonzo Ball, Buddy Hield, apparently anybody can be Steph Curry nowadays. Keep dreaming, fellas. Nobody can shoot like Steph Curry. That does not just grow out of anywhere. You can. Oh my God, people are ridiculous nowadays. Yeah, Buddy Hield is not going to be the next Steph Curry. He could be good, but I think the Sacramento owner went just a little bit too far.
Well, the point I was trying to make is that this is rumored to be more of a Karl Anthony Towns, Jahlil Okafor, D'Angelo Russell, Kristaps Porzingis type of draft, not so much a Ben Simmons, bunch of guys we don't know, and a Buddy Hield type of draft. So it's a deep draft and more related to the trade deadline. It looks like that pick would really favor whoever gets it, because either one of those top 2 picks, the dude whose name I can barely pronounce, Markelle Fultz, and or Lonzo Ball, look like legitimate players that could really make a difference on any team.
I don't think any other superstar can actually be traded. I don't think Jimmy Butler is going to be traded, to be honest. The only one that actually might get traded is Paul George, because he said he's interested in going to the Lakers, and Magic Johnson's probably going to want to make a splash right now in his new position as soon as possible. So I'm very intrigued with that. But if Indiana makes a trade for Jahlil Okafor, which is also a possibility, Paul George would have some help. I think he'd be. I mean, all he wants is some help. he would be able to stay. And, of course, Indiana's not going to trade for Okafor to trade away Paul George. So I'm putting all my eggs on that basket, the Paul George basket. That's the only superstar that I can actually see being moved before the deadline.
I don't know. I think that there's kind of a logjam in Chicago. I just think that the ownership is too dumb. For what it's worth, they are in the same boat as the New York Knicks. They have a handful of has-been players. They both have like one good star in the making, a bunch of mismatching pieces on the bench, and no real direction from anyone in the front office. It's kind of the same thing. They should trade Jimmy Butler, get younger, find an identity, and move forward with this new coach, Fred Hoiberg, who, by the way, this is unofficial, like most things are here, but I heard a rumor on one of those many podcasts that I listen to that Fred Hoiberg doesn't really have the attention of the locker room. So if you got veteran players who don't really listen to a coach, then what's the point of having this? Just, put some dynamite on it, blow the whole thing up, get whatever pieces you can for the assets you have, and kind of start over with younger players and go back and do it kind of the Laker way.
I don't know. I disagree, man. I think they have to keep Jimmy Butler because they're probably going to lose weight in the offseason. Rondo was a bust of an experiment.
What do you mean they're going to lose weight in the offseason? He's not a free agent. He signed for 3 years.
He has a player option. Yeah, he has an option. I think he's going to be out during the offseason.
Where the hell is he going to go?
No, a lot of people say Cleveland, but I don't think he's happy in Chicago. So I think he's going to be. There's no way that this ownership can lose both Wade and Jimmy Butler. Rondo's is a failure. You can't just you have an opportunity to have a building block with Jimmy Butler. Don't let it go. If they do, well, I think they're retarded. I would keep Jimmy. Move on from Wade and Rondo, bring in some real shooters around him, and give this another shot. But Jimmy is a legit star, man. You don't just trade legit stars like that. So if you really want to build a winning culture, I would keep Jimmy. That's my opinion on it.
But it's like I said, again, another comparison to the Knicks. They're not good enough to do anything, any kind of substantial winning. They're not bad enough to be considered a rebuilding team. So they're just going to be stuck in limbo, consistently getting the 15th pick overall, and that's never going to amount to anything. You're just getting rid of older players, replacing them with players that aren't any good. Sometimes
there's ways. I mean, that's where scouting comes in because. The Warriors did it. I mean, the Warriors found Draymond Green in the second round, right? Klay Thompson was later in the first. He wasn't the first overall pick.
But
Steph Curry was later in the first.
The Warriors got all that talent by being bad, either being bad or being hurt.
No, I mean I know they were bad, but these guys weren't top picks either. That's what I'm saying. Like, you have to get into your real scouting here. This is.
Wasn't Steph and Klay, aren't those 2 top 10 picks?
Yeah, but top 10 is not a big deal in the NBA. I mean, if you're not in the top 5, anything else is a gamble. Nah, man, if you're not top 5, everything else is a gamble. 6 and beyond, anything can happen. But, I mean, look at the teams that are bad. The Sixers, the Wolves. These guys keep getting top talent, but they're not winning either. Yet you're seeing teams that have jumped out of this hole.
But hold on. We talked our last podcast about, players or teams, rather, that have a bright future. And when we talked about the T-Wolves and we talked about the 76ers.
Yeah, they have a bright future. But they're losing right now.
Yeah, but that's what's going to happen with young players. Listen, I don't know if we talked about... And I'm sorry, I may get a little bit off topic here, but I don't know if we mentioned the Bucks when we talked about teams with a bright future.
I mentioned them.
I saw them play live last week. They're not ready. I don't care what people are saying. They're not ready. Antetokounmpo, he's not effective if he's not around the basket. No kind of pulling out the defense. He doesn't really shoot threes. He doesn't have a consistent shot. When it came down, they were playing against the Nets. And the Nets gave them a run for their money. They have too many, duplicitous players, too many players that look the same. Yeah, they look long, they do this, they do that. and they're NBA players, so if left open, they can hit an open shot. But against a team with defense, there's not a player there that's transcendent enough to take over a game. Giannis Antetokounmpo couldn't do it. If he's not around the basket, he's not doing it. And
Yeah, but
the Nets, man, the worst team in the league, they found a way to shut him down and keep him to like single digits in the second half. Like, he blew up and scored a lot of points early, but all of the second half, he was pretty quiet, and he was just kind of getting putbacks and free throws.
yeah, but let's be real, man. Being a middle of the pack is not a bad thing if you get the proper free agents and you do the proper scouting.
Terrible.
No, it's not. It's not. I mean, you can't use the Knicks as an example because the Knicks haven't done anything right.
But what free agent wants to go to a middle of the pack team? Like, Kevin Durant
a free agent that's going to want to take you over the top, because that's what you.
That doesn't happen anymore.
Listen,
Kevin Durant happened. It happened, and people are awake to this, and they know. They're like, man, I'm a good player. I can go to a good team. Why the hell am I going to? Why am I taking on
Jimmy Butler?
Bro, I just told you that there's no more rivalries anymore. People don't play for pride. They want the easy win right now. They want to get in. They want to get their rings. They want to create their legacy. They want to sell a brand. They want to make money, and they want to get out reasonably uninjured so you can enjoy the rest of your life. Like, these are all things that if you kept your eyes and ears open to the NBA, you've seen all of this. You've seen Derrick Rose talk about how he doesn't want to limp to his son's wedding. You know, you've seen Kevin Durant jump to the team that beat him because it's an easier path to a championship. You've seen LeBron leaving Cleveland because he would have a better chance at winning championships, only to go back to Cleveland and you know, cement his legacy by winning more championships there. But, by the way, not with the team that was there. No. With a team that he basically handcrafted by shipping out Andrew Wiggins and getting Kevin Love. Kevin Love, by the way, who's going to be out for a few weeks. He's getting a scope on his knee. So they're all looking for the easy way out. Like, you can't be a middle-of-the-pack team and count on free agents going to you. Well, like, markets don't even sell anymore. Nobody wants to play in New York.
No.
Nobody really cares about playing in Los Angeles. They want to play.
Jimmy Butler is a player you can market to other free agents to come in and take you to the next level. Jimmy Butler can – I mean, the only problem is that he's alone in Chicago. But if you get somebody else, it could work. But I don't know, man. I just don't think he's going to get traded. Okay,
he may or may not get traded, even though I was, you know, kind of reading out the side of my eye. And I'm seeing, you know, at least 4 or 5 scenarios where potentially Jimmy Butler could get traded. There's, like I said, they mentioned the Boston. There's mentions of Denver. There's a few more that I forgot, but he's involved in a few trades here.
No, there'll be interest. I just don't think anybody's going to, you know, close out anything on him. I can see Paul George moving before he does.
I don't know. I'm terrible at placing bets, or I would say, you know, I would bet with you who gets traded first if it's Butler or George. But too much of it depends on some behind the scenes. Like, watching basketball when I was a kid was so much more fun. Like, you would say, good player gets traded, well, this team is guaranteed to be a bona fide winner. Now you got to consider, like, there's money involved and salary caps, and does the player that gets traded, are they going to potentially sign on for more years when they come into free agency? So is it even worth signing? It's so much to consider that it's almost not fun. You just have to kind of watch the product that's out there and just kind of take it for what it is.
Well, there you go. You just became a real analyst. Now you got to see things more than just the names.
Dude, I sucked the fun out of that one. Derrick Rose involved in some potential trades to Minnesota.
God, I hope that happens.
Yes, just ship him the hell out of here. I don't give a crap if it is for Ricky Rubio. I'll take Ricky Rubio over Derrick Rose any damn day. Carmelo Anthony's at his best with a distributor, and that's what Ricky Rubio is. Plus, Rubio's good at steals and rebounds, so get him the heck out of here. I'm sorry if you're a fan of Derrick Rose, but I know that it's not his fault, but he's not helping. So just move him. Move him, get rid of that money, get back a cheaper player, and do what you will with that.
Yeah, and not to mention that the experiment was a failure. I mean, the Knicks are garbage. They need to change something. and not Kyle LaQuinn, who they're asking a first rounder for. God damn it, Phil Jackson is ridiculous. A first rounder for Kyle LaQuinn. Yeah, man. Sure.
So speaking of Phil Jackson, but going the other way, I heard you mention, at this point I'm sure most people have already heard, Magic Johnson is the new president of basketball operations for the Lakers. Mitch Kupchak, who had been with the organization since, I heard, 1986, has been shown the door, and he's been replaced with a former agent of Kobe Bryant. I forget his name, Kevin Plakalecki, whatever his name is. You remember his name?
That sounds like the Mets catcher, what you just said there. Can you say it again?
Is it? I don't know. Kevin Plakalecki, Crakalaki. I don't know. I don't remember that dude's name. No. Who cares? Who cares? This is going to go down as another one of those GMs, just like the Knicks have a GM and nobody can name him. Like, everything is going to be Magic.
Rob Pelinka. I didn't remember either. I had to look it up.
Pelinka. That sounds like a game in the 80s where you, like, pulled the little sticks.
He's a very respected agent in the NBA and a very respected basketball mind.
And what the hell is that?
I like this. Well, you know, Magic Johnson's the one that's going to be calling out the shots. So I like the change. The Lakers needed something refreshing. I don't know if it's going to be a good or bad change yet. It's too soon to tell. But a change needed to be done. So what Magic is going to do now is he's going to probably hire a whole bunch of guys to help him out throughout all the different departments needed to build a team. I can see Rob come in, help with the salary cap, help with the player negotiations. In a way, I mean, the guy has been involved in that already, so I think he's a very important asset to Magic Johnson. He's probably not going to be a top scout, you know, or none of that stuff. But that's what Magic is there for. He's probably going to get somebody else that has like a million years of experience scouting, and he's probably going to get other people that are going to help out. And Magic is going to be the one making the final decisions.
You know what though? It seems to me so far that he's going about this the right way. If you have a deficiency in basketball operations, surround yourself with smart people. This is not a political podcast, but that's what we said about the current president, right? Like, yeah, you don't have that kind of experience running a country, but surround yourself with the right people and sky's the limit. So far, you know, it looks like he's getting smart people around him. He already executed a trade. Omar said, like, oh man, this team is in disarray. They trade the general manager. They don't have a general manager, you know, 2 days before the trade deadline. General manager's there an hour and he completed a trade.
Yeah, apparently Magic knew where he was going, and he wants Kobe involved too. So, you know, don't be surprised if Kobe gets involved in some way into that team that we're talking about, that Magic Johnson is going to build to help, you know, construct the Lakers roster all over again. I honestly, at first, I wasn't very sold. Cause,
I can definitely see Kobe giving those inspiring pep talks. Remember that commercial? Like, do more, be more, make more shots, win more.
You know, maybe Kobe can help maybe in player interviews, you know, like, I'm sure Kobe has an insight on how to read into a player's mind, to see the fire inside some players. Because, you know, the entire NBA is talented. What the difference between a superstar and a regular star or a regular player is that mindset. Because everybody's talented. As bad as you might see them on TV, you have to be uber talented to get to the NBA. It's your mindset, it's your preparation, all that is what makes a difference on whether you're mediocre or you're good. So maybe Kobe can tap into that part, help out, you know, not specifically with a position per se, but that'd be an interesting job to see Kobe in. You know, just be around player interviews and give his advice on what he thinks about certain players.
And on that note, Paki, I think it's time that we wrap it up. Tomorrow is the official trade deadline. Let's see what trades are pulled off last minute, if any.
Yes.
Some big names have already been traded. Some names that we didn't talk about, like Andre Drummond, are being floated around there as potential trade candidates. So let's just kind of sit back and enjoy the product for what it is. And let's see what happens now post All-Star game and post All-Star weekend, and just kind of see what the landscape of the NBA is. We'll be back next week with a lot more talk about the NBA. I'm not 100% sure, Sorry, I didn't do my homework if there's any UFC this weekend. I know baseball's still prepping or doing pitchers, catchers, or spring training or whatever it is. Next week will be, is it March yet? I think it'll be March at some point. We're probably going to be...
At some point, it will be March.
Yeah, at some point it will be March. We're going to be...
But yeah, it'll be March next week, yeah.
We're going to be revving up for that World Baseball Classic. Did Serie del Caribe happen?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it happened. Mexico won.
Oh,
man,
look at
you're
that.
way behind. Yeah, Dominican Republic didn't win a single game for a second year in a row.
That's
sad. But,
that's not something that we get here in New York. Like, you got to be diehard to follow up on that.
Yeah.
All right,
hopefully
so
we'll have some Lego Batman too for next week.
Oh yeah, I'm going to try to catch John Wick and we'll exchange notes. All right, guys, thank you for sitting in with us. This was a fairly long podcast, but fairly interesting. There was a lot of things that we needed to cover that we did. I appreciate you sticking with us. Make sure that you follow the Unofficial Commentators. Just go to Facebook, click that subscribe button, and you get little updates that say that we posted new videos. I'm thinking that it defeats the purpose to continue to promote ourselves on the video. I mean, if you are not watching it, how would you know to do all these things? So what I'm asking the faithful followers of the Unofficial Commentators, tell your friends to watch. Show them that these guys are pretty funny and they know what they're talking about, and then they can tell a friend and they can tell a friend. And before we know, we have a fun, faithful community of Unofficial Commentators. Go ahead and send us your suggestions of things we want to talk about to unofficialcommentators@gmail.com. Follow us on all our social media. Follow Paki and all of his projects. He has the Unfiltered Sports. He has the Pio Deportes on, Fridays. Follow our sponsors, Scotch Porter. I'll leave a link that you can follow. Use code SP10 for wonderful beard products. Our other sponsors, So Loyal. Check them out on Instagram at So Loyal.
Nice hat.
So
nice
Loyal
hat,
Clothing Inc. Thank you very much. Shout out to the cousin Juan and his project as well, the Report Card podcast. Google it and you'll find it on just about any medium that you feel like subscribing to. And with that, see you guys next week. It's been a blast.
Peace.